Hello, and welcome to Behind the Brand. In this series, I sit down and have a chat with NOISSUE customers from around the world to find out what drives them to do what they do. If you're interested in how other small businesses are run in your industry, then this is the series for you. In this episode, I'm chatting with Studio Kynd founder and NOISSUE creative community member, Niobe Alexandra. How's it going, Niobe?
Doing well, thank you, Ben, and well done for pronouncing my name right.
I did a lot of LinkedIn stalking and practice beforehand. I was like, okay, can I nail this? I love it. It's a very unique name. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's Greek, but I'm not actually Greek. I feel like I always have to say that before. Oh, so you're Greek? I'm like, no. My mum just likes the name of a DJ from a pirate radio station. So
wow.
Yeah.
That has got to be one of the best name origin stories in the world. Everyone else is just kind of named after some ancestor or whatever. A pirate radio DJ. Badass.
Yeah, I try and play it off. I'm like, no, it's a Greek goddess, but actually, yeah, that's the real story.
Awesome. So first things first, how did you get into the creative industry?
So I kind of just fell into it. In 2020, as you know, there was the global pandemic, and I'd actually been nursing for 5 years, and that's what I studied at university. And then in my hospital, it kind of became quite empty. So I had a lot of free time, and I was like, okay, in my time off, I'll do something else. And my partner's a designer. So I was like, I've always wanted to do design. I actually originally wanted to study design at school. And my parents were like, no, you have to go and have a profession. That's not your career. So I decided to start learning about design. Luckily enough, my partner was a graphic designer, so he could teach me a few things. And then I landed my first client, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Still working at the hospital, commuting an hour and a half both ways. So I was like constantly on Pinterest, looking at stuff, reading blogs, reading books, anything I could do to learn stuff whilst on the train for an hour and a half every day. And then after this client, it led me to 6 more clients. I was like, what? I'm fully booked. I can't work anymore. So I had to text the artist, I can't come back. I'm really sorry. And then I went to Cornwall because my uncle, so in England, there's a show called The Great British Bake Off. And yes. He was on that show last year. If you've seen him, he was a man with one leg from Cornwall. He did pretty well.
Oh man, okay.
Starting Studio Kynd, we were actually house sitting for him in Cornwall. So it was amazing because I was in my favourite place in England, full of inspiration, and started Studio Kynd. So yeah, I kind of fell into it. Long-winded story, but yeah.
No, that's such a wild ride. I feel like I have so many questions. So my sister's a big British Bake Off fan, so I'll be sure to mention to her.
Mark Elliott, yeah.
Mark Elliott, okay, yeah, I've met Mark Elliott's daughter. That's incredible. So your partner was able to kind of help you around the design front. You had a little bit of a background in it. Was the teaching of design, was that a bit contentious, or was it completely fine? Did you guys navigate that completely normally?
I think it was completely fine because I already had the eye for design. It was kind of like learning the software because I was like, I do not know how to work Illustrator. And I was constantly like, okay, if I can do this, can you recreate it on Illustrator at the start? And then he was teaching me how to use it. And then by the time I was like, oh, now I know. And now he asks me for tips on Illustrator, and it kind of works like he's literally just there. And look at
I love it. The student becomes the teacher.
But it's really nice because after that month in Cornwall, we were able to, he worked for a PR company at the time. He doesn't anymore. That's another story. But then we were able to go to Spain for a month and work from there remotely. And then that's what led us to we can actually work remotely together. This is really well. So then we moved to Brighton in England, which was our dream place to live. All thanks to Studio Kynd, which was amazing. And then it led to him quitting his job and then joining me on a solo mission of working remotely.
That's incredible. I'll have more questions for that. I've got to stick to a few specific questions, but I've got more follow-ups. That's so good. Next question is, how does where you live shape your design style? And how would you describe that style?
as I was saying to you before, the school, I'm here in Mexico at the moment. I'm living here for 6 months. So I've always been a vagabond. Like my mum calls me a gypsy because I'm constantly on the move. I think I've moved like 25 times in my life. So I have a bit of a dodgy English accent, as I say, like it's northern, a bit southern. So I'd say like where I live doesn't massively influence my design style because I'm constantly on the move. But I always feel like travel really inspires me, and I'm constantly inspired by the people that I meet, the foods, the culture, the architecture. I'm always one for saying always look up at the architecture rather than just like looking down on your phone and stuff. So I feel like I'm always inspired by travel. So.
I like that a lot. That's definitely good advice that I wish I took more often. I'm so concentrated on kind of what's immediately around me and not at all on kind of those big things. But it is, when you look up, it is, it can be quite magical.
I literally arrived in Oaxaca yesterday and looked up at this building, and they had like these really beautiful hand imprinted flowers within the concrete, and I was like, that's so pretty. Like no one would notice that if you didn't look up.
Oh, that's incredible. To travel. I dig it. Okay, so this will be an interesting question because of how much you move around. But describe what your ideal workspace looks like, right down to the snacks on hand and what music is playing.
So I've been thinking about this a lot recently because after traveling and being on the move so much and constantly having my things in bags, I actually kind of want to settle down. So I've got the idea of I really want to build my own tiny home or live on a boat, because I'm not too sure if I want to still be settled in one place just yet. I'm like, maybe I'll just get a boat first and then see how I get on. So I have this vision in my head of the workspace being really lit with natural light, very minimalist. I'm very inspired by, I don't know if you've seen the concrete style, which is very much in Tulum right now, with rustic wood, but quite unbeaten and rustic, and that's how I imagine it, kind of like if you would imagine a place in Italy and the south of Italy and then looking out at the ocean or something, because I'm inspired by my mum's office as well. She literally lives by a lake, which is a private lake, and then she walks out from her house to her office, which is by a woods, and she literally looks out onto this woodland, which is beautiful, surrounded by her chickens, and I just love that. And just listening to the sounds of nature rather than listening to music. I actually like to work in silence. I think I'm not used to listening to music. I know it's really weird.
You can see my face,
yeah. I think my partner, he's listening to hip hop and stuff next to me, and I'm like, can you turn that off? I just need silence. But I think that goes back to my nursing. There's we couldn't listen to music and stuff, and I worked well like that. So.
In your work, what's your favorite productivity hack or shortcut that you've discovered in design?
So recently I found Notion. I've organized my whole life on Notion now, and I found that it streamlines my design process so much easier and faster, because I can organize all my tasks. I can have my clients on there and they can see what part of the project is going on, so it's really easy to communicate as well. So I found that Notion's really handy.
Okay, cool. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but what does inspiration look like for you, and where's the easiest place you can find it?
Of course, in nature. My friends actually call me Earth Girl because I'm that person that just wants to save the planet. I'm a little eco warrior. A couple of years ago, I went out with STA Travel actually and just filmed a short documentary in Australia, all about protecting the local wildlife in Queensland, which was just
cool.
Because I was hanging out with turtles every day, and I was it's my dream job.
Yeah,
obviously. But that's in my next life, is protecting turtles. So yeah, in nature, because as a little girl, I'd often spend my time just hanging out in the woods at the end of my garden in my first house. And then being a family from a very outdoors background, we'd be surfing, climbing, hiking. So we were always doing that as children. And then adult as well, I'm constantly on the move and out there hiking, dragging him along hiking with me.
Yeah.
I think.
was that tough as a nurse? Because I imagine you probably didn't have a whole lot of outdoor time around then.
So I'd work 3 12-hour night shifts a week. So I would literally just do Sunday to Tuesday in nights, and then have so much free time. So in all of my free time, I'd literally just be right, I'm going off to Italy or going to Dublin for the weekend, or okay, I'll just nip off to Northumberland because that's where my grandfather lives. So I just go everywhere. So it was great. I loved my life.
Yeah,
But
this is a
very cruel.
yeah. What's your number one tip for businesses when designing packaging or any other kind of branded marketing?
So I recently did some packaging design, and I was like, oh no, the color is totally off. It's not what I expected. I'm so upset. So I find this really hard for myself because I'm saving on paper and I travel, so I don't have a printer. But I think that you should print stuff out because I've learned about font sizes and stuff. Like obviously from Charles, he's taught me all about like this font size that you should go for with packaging and stuff. So I think it's really important to actually print out what your design is, mock it up actually. Say if you're doing it on a box, actually mock it up on that type of box, and then you can see it before sending it to the client.
Yeah.
Because it can be completely different when it is printed.
Oh, totally. Getting that printing proof is so important. And because I think also it's one thing to visualize it on a computer and it's another thing to see it in person. You kind of go, oh, okay, maybe this isn't going to work as well, or maybe this isn't sized up correctly. Speaking of color, flawless segue on your part, what's your favorite color to design with and why?
So I don't have a particular colour that I like to design with. It's more like a palette. So I once took a picture of my wardrobe, which is literally just all neutrals. And I was like, this is my colour palette, and this is literally like all of my projects that I design with are literally like mainly neutrals, like dark charcoal, as I would call it. I never like to use black. It's always like charcoal. It's like the furthest I'll go. And I always say it's always inspired by nature. So like through rocks or shells or the sand or palm trees.
It's amazing talking to designers because whenever you ask what's your favorite color, like what color do you really like working with, it's never just like, oh, yellow, and then that's it. It's like, oh, well, actually there's like this whole range and this kind of this theme and this feeling, which is, it's so much more fun than just me where I'm like, yeah, I like blue. Blue's nice.
Yeah, blue's my favorite color, but to design with, I probably wouldn't choose blue to design with.
What's your favorite brand identity? It could be one that you've designed or by somebody else, and why?
Before I actually started branding, I was obsessed with branding anyway and packaging. I think that's why I bought most of my beauty products, is because of the branding. And my all-time favorite is a brand called NOISSUE. It's really minimalist and it's just beautiful. And when you go into their shops are just stunning.
Gorgeous. It's AESOP, right? Is that the one? Yeah. Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah. So
I've gone into their shops so often just to just to get a little, not buy anything, but just kind of get some samples. Test it out.
So nice. But for my own projects, I'd always say Namaka because that was my first and favorite project. Like, obviously it led me to 6 clients, which was amazing. And more recently, one for Fiber Lab, which is a textile recycling company based in London, and then Clothes Collective, which is a sustainable fashion brand based in London that uses offcuts of other clothing brands. And then I only design with sustainable brands, by the way. So that's I'm very particular. Like I'll ask a lot of questions and make sure they are fully sustainable before taking them on as a client as well.
That's incredible. Do you find that you have kind of control of it? Like, have you turned people down because you're like,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Once I had a application from someone that was a blogger and quite well known in Instagram, and she wanted to start a sustainable brand. But I actually looked into her Instagram and I was like, okay, but she's promoting fast fashion brands, so I can't click with that, so I can't work with you. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But I have to stick with my values, and I'm just totally against fast fashion, so I can't work with someone that's going to promote that.
It's awesome to see you standing up for those principles. Like that's really inspiring. That's awesome.
I fully believe in law of attraction. So I think if you say no to work, and then something else will come along.
Knowing everything you know now, what advice would you give yourself when you were just starting out?
Oh gosh, don't design for free. When I first started, I designed for free so much. I would literally say to people, I will do branding for free if you advertise for me or something. And I learned that it's just not right. You need to value your time. And I did a post about it yesterday because so many young designers, like 18-year-olds, will come to me now and be like, oh, let me work for you, I'll design for free. I'm like, no, I would rather pay you and value your time and your work. And I think it's so important to not design for free, even if they can send you a few coffees or something in exchange for your designs. Like, just don't design for free.
It's hard as a young person to break into any sort of market, not even young, but just breaking into a new kind of industry, because there aren't usually clear pathways. And so that's why it's been a real, honestly, I remember the whole internship process when I was younger. It was always such a weird thing to me. It's like, okay, I'm doing labor for free just so that I can do labor in the future and get paid for it.
I felt that when doing my nurse training, because 50% of our course is placement. So we actually have to work 3 12-hour shifts like everyone else is getting paid for free.
Yeah.
So why am I doing night shifts and not being paid for it?
Just squeezing a little bit of extra labor out of you before they start paying. Yeah. Did you find that it was also kind of with friends and family who would be like, hey, like, you know, could you do a design for me and then expect it for free? Or was that never kind of a, maybe not friends and family, but no?
To be honest, like, even my mum, like, she's paid me. She's like, I'm telling you, like, I've done my mum's website and branding, and she's paid for it in cryptocurrency as well. Which is I'm looking into cryptocurrency now. It's like stepping for Studio Kynd.
I shouldn't have said scuba diving. I should have said crypto. That was my backup. That was the next thing you're going to jump into. Fully go to El Salvador.
Something. I like to surprise people. Element of surprise. Like, my first client was actually my friend, and like one of my best friends, and she paid me. And then even if they pay you a small amount, they could actually offer you quite a lot. So you never know.
This is the last question. This is the big question. This is the exciting one. This is where you predict the future. So what do you see as the next big design trend in 2022? And what has you most excited about the future of design?
So I think with the way that Instagram is moving more towards video, which I'm very upset about, is going to be more animation-based design. So I'm like, that's our next thing, is to get on Skillshare and learn animation, which I'm very scared about, because now I've noticed, like, when you're in the underground in London, it's not just static posters, it's moving posters. So I think that's going to be the next trend. And obviously with Instagram and Reels, like, I think we need to be finding ways to make our branding projects stand out a bit more and not be like dancing around on camera and pointing at random stuff.
That's really, really interesting. Is that what's got you most excited about the future as well? Or is that with trepidation you're stepping towards animation?
Yeah, I'm a bit old-fashioned. Like, in everything. Like, my partner and I, we're like old people. We describe, like, we're very like set in our ways and stuff. But I do find it quite exciting, because it's good to learn new things as well, and it is exciting. Yeah. But we have to roll with the times, especially with technology as well. So.
Yeah, awesome. Niobe, that is all the questions I've got for you. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you too.
Yeah, and enjoy the rest of Mexico. Your trip makes me so envious. Niobe, thank you so much.
Have a lovely day.
Yeah, you too. If you liked this episode, then go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. There's plenty more content just like it. And if you really like this video, why not make it official by giving us a like below? And even subscribe to see more content as it comes out. Thanks.